Welcome to our second session of Field of Awareness, where we are exploring gentle movement and different forms of meditation. So in this session today, we will need a bolster, some blankets, some blocks, all of the usual items, and of course having more than one blanket available if that's something that you'll need. And we'll be starting here in a seated shape. I'm gonna sit on my bolster. You can do the same if you'd like, or stack some blankets if you don't have a bolster and you need a little bit of height. And you can sit in any way that feels welcome to your body. So as you get settled, I invite you to choose a shape of your choice. Beginning to step into your practice, step into some awareness, allowing the outside world to begin to kind of fall away, kind of become background noise, and begin to draw your awareness closer in toward your body. If it helps to close your eyes, that is an option. If it helps to keep your eyes open, but give your eyes a focal point, that is also a choice. If you leave your eyes open, it might be helpful to stare down the bridge of your nose, allow your eyes to soften, and just rest them on an unmoving object. As we move through class today, we will be exploring with curiosity and compassion if our minds are in a state of awareness or distraction. And there's no judgment attached. There's no consequences or anything bad, just noticing where is the mind wandering. Am I aware, or am I distracted, as in being caught up in whatever my thought is to the point where I didn't even realize my mind wandered? And that's okay. It is the nature of the mind to wander, to fluctuate, to be distracted. And when we bring awareness, it's like we're doing a little curl, like we're lifting a weight for our mind. Getting a little bit stronger, building up that muscle. So as we move through class today, I invite you to keep curiosity and compassion at the forefront of this practice. With your next inhale, you might begin to scan through your body, noticing what's present for you. How does your body feel today? You might even notice what is touching your body, such as your clothing or the floor or the bolster beneath you. Noticing those points of contact. And then shifting your awareness to your breath whenever you're ready. You don't have to change your breath, but you might simply notice how it feels as your breath moves through your body. One more breath here. And with your next inhale, you might float your awareness up into your headspace and simply notice the pace of your thoughts. So how fast or slow, what kind of pace are your thoughts moving at? And then coming back into your body, into your breath. Seeing if for the remainder of this practice you can keep your body and your breath in your field of awareness. And I offer you today a sutra. So it's a Yoga Sutra of Patanjali. And a sutra is like it is sacred text in yogic teachings. And so just let this wash over you. This is Sutra 3.9. The mind is capable of having two states based on two distinct tendencies. These are distraction and attention. At any one moment, however, only one state prevails. And this state influences the individual's behavior, attitudes, and expressions. Distraction or attention. I also like the word awareness. So distraction or awareness. Our mind can only be in one at a time. So for this practice today, can we allow our bodies and our breaths to be that focal point for our attention, for our awareness? And if you are ready to begin moving your body, you might start by rolling your shoulders out, adding any organic movement here that you'd like to start with. You might even sway from side to side. You could roll through your wrists or your neck. Anything goes here as we just take 3 rounds of breath to move, feel, tune in. One more breath. Allowing your movements to slowly bring you back to center. And taking some seated cat-cows, or if you prefer to come into tabletop and take your cat-cows, you can do that too. But I'm going to stay seated here as my hands come to my lap. And as you breathe in, you might begin to draw your heart space and your whole spine forward. Maybe even gently pull the shoulders back. Perhaps your gaze lifts. And then as you exhale, maybe you begin to fold inward, allowing your spine to scoot back like it's bowing in the opposite direction. Inhale to open. Exhale to close. A few more at your own pace, exploring your own range of movement and where your body might be asking to be today. And then at any point that you'd like to turn these into some circles, you might begin to swirl your spine in one direction, or you might stay with the seated cat-cows if that is what serves you best today. Feeling all of the areas in your body that are responding to this movement. Can you bring your awareness there to that felt sense that you are creating with this movement? If you're making circles, you might decide to go in the opposite direction. One more breath in and out. If you are making circles, you might slowly make your circles smaller and smaller and smaller until you arrive back at center. Pausing here for a moment whenever you get here to feel perhaps an inward circling, noticing any effects of that movement. And then when you are ready, if you're still in a seated shake like I am, you might begin to move into a child's pose. I like to have a blanket underneath my knees, and so if it's helpful for you, you might do the same. Folding the blanket so that you have your desired thickness for your knees to rest on. And coming into child's pose, you might allow your knees to go a little bit wider than hip distance. The toes can touch back behind you as we send the hips back toward the heels. And option one is to walk your hands forward. Allow your forehead or one side of your face to come to the mat. Another option is to draw your elbows back, maybe keeping your gaze lifted if that's what feels best for you. And you could always drape a blanket over your lower back and your hips if it helps to have a sense of covering, or just warmth if you're a little bit chilly. So you could always come here with the blanket into this shape. Your choice. Everything in this class is your choice. So as we settle in here into this child's pose, can you notice your breath? How has it changed since a few minutes ago at the beginning of class? And with your next inhale, if you're curious to add a little bit of breath, you might take a deeper breath in, and then a big exhale out. With your next inhale, you might begin to lift your head if it's not already lifted, and begin to shift yourself forward. I will meet you in a tabletop shape whenever you get there, no rush. And taking a second to kind of arrive, you might even flip one wrist at a time. So if you want to stretch the back side of your wrist, or I guess rather the front side, I don't know, you could flip the back of your palm onto your mat and really gently and mindfully stretch one hand at a time. And then you could always release that. And then if you want to, you could turn your fingers back to face you and gently release the palm, the heel of your palm to the floor. Giving our wrists a little bit of love. Switching sides whenever you feel complete. Being really mindful of all of the tiny bones and muscles that surround your wrist and give it all of the range of motion that it does have. So be conscious of if it feels like a stretch or if it feels like pain. If it feels like pain, then you could always ease off. You know your body best. Okay, and then once you feel satisfied, you could roll through your wrists just for a second. And then we'll begin to extend our right leg out. I'm actually gonna face the long way of my mat. You can too if you want, but you don't have to. I'm doing that so that you can see me and see what I'm doing. And have a block nearby. We're not gonna use it just yet, but have it just in case you might want it. So from tabletop, right leg extends out to the right, and maybe your right toes point forward. And if they're not pointed directly forward, that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. They might kind of come out at an angle. You can choose what feels best for your body. And kind of rocking back and forth here, maybe your left foot tucks to give you a little bit more grip. Option 2, rock back and forth, finding a range of motion that feels welcome in your right leg or right hip. Couple more breaths here. One more. All right. And then meet me back at center, and using a block or just pressing off of the floor, maybe walking your hands back and pressing up, we'll end up same shape, but now we're nice and tall. Your block, if you have one, could come to your left side, so the leg that is supporting you, whichever side that is for you. And then with your next inhale, you could reach your arms up overhead. Really lengthen through the spine like you're growing up towards the sky. And then an exhale, option to bring your right hand down to your right leg. And you could reach over with your top arm. So a couple choices here. If you'd like to go for stillness, you could stay right here. If movement is best for your body today, you could inhale, lengthen up. Exhale, reach. You could also just kind of paint the sky with your top arm, getting a different kind of movement. And we'll be here for the next 3 rounds of breath. And again, if balance is feeling a little weird today, tucking your leg that is stabilizing you, so for me that's my left leg, tucking your left toes might be helpful as we take our final breath here. And if you're ready, a big reach up to lift. And an exhale, left hand can come down to this block that's on your left side, or fingertips can come to the floor. I find that the floor feels a little far away for me, so I like to use the block. There's 3 levels. You can decide which level works best for you. And then same thing here. You can find stillness, or maybe you paint the ceiling with this arm now, and noticing as you reach, as you move, what's going on in this right side of your body, or whichever side is opening for you. Can you bring all of your awareness to that area where you are feeling the sensation of the stretch in your body? One more breath in and out. And with your next breath, you might begin to reach on up. Hands can come back down to the floor. And then taking your time, you could also bend your right knee, your extended leg, and kind of heel toe your foot in. We're going to end up in a low lunge so that this right leg, or whichever leg you have extended, will now be right in front of you. I'm going to move so you can see me. So we'll end up here in our low lunge. And again, blocks are amazing tools to bring the floor closer to us. So if blocks are helpful here for you, you might use them. And adjust your low lunge so that your body feels nice and stable. And if it feels kind of funky, you can kind of move into it. Give your body a second to kind of find the best place. And then once you're settled, I invite you to take a pause here Can you search through your body with your mind's eye and notice where you are feeling the sensation of this shape? Can you just pinpoint it with your mind's eye? You don't have to do anything about it, just notice it. You might decide to stay right here in stillness, just continuing to feel and experience. Or if you'd like to shift your hips back and begin to press up, it can be helpful to press your right hand into your right leg and find your way up. You might even take a block and place it on your right side. So if your right foot is forward, the block will be on your right side. If it's the opposite, it'll be the opposite. So finding a lifted low lunge with our chest lifted. This is option number 2. You might stay here and continue to explore, continue to feel, whether in movement or stillness. Option number 3 is to inhale and reach your arms up. And exhale, right hand can come down to your block or the floor as we reach over with our top arm. Another lateral stretch, another side stretch, lengthening the side body. 3 choices here. Which one calls to you? There's no wrong choice. One more breath in and out at your own pace. And I'll meet you right back at center. Moving our blocks out of the way. Hands can come down to the mat, and we'll be stepping the front foot, the front leg, back behind you. You could either bring the knees to the mat, or you could always hover, but either way, we're dropping down onto our stomachs just for a moment. And you could choose to just take a rest here if you want. If that feels welcome, maybe resting your forehead on your arms. Or if you'd like to join me for a dynamic cobra shape, you can leave your hands on the mat. As we inhale, press our hands into the floor and gently curl the heart and the chest upward. Only coming up as much as you want. And then your exhale might roll you right back down. And your next inhale might rebound you back up. Taking a few more just like this. Setting your own pace. And the next time you release yourself down, option 1 is to take a pause. Lift the heart up off of the floor just a smidge, and then maybe you hover your hands. You don't have to, you can keep your hands grounded, but that is a second option as we hover, letting the back of the heart find some engagement. One more breath in, and exhale, let it all go. You could press your hands into the floor when you're ready and shift yourself back. I'll meet you in a child's pose. Any child's pose that serves you. We'll take about 5 breaths here. Is your mind in a state of awareness or distraction? It cannot be in both at the same time. So if you find that your mind has wandered, that's okay. It is the nature of the mind to wander, but we can gently draw it back with compassion, bring it back to your body, back into your breath. If you are ready to leave this shape and move on to the next one, you might begin to lift your head, shift yourself forward, and we'll find that whole sequence that we just did on the other side. So this time our left leg extends out. Option to tuck your right toes. And you might begin to rock back and forth, finding some gentle movement. What are you feeling in your left hip? 3 more breaths here. Last one. You might have a block close by on the right side. And then if you'd like to lift up, you could walk your hands back, find your way on up. All right. Breathing in, sweeping the arms up in your own timing. And exhale. Left hand could come to the left leg. Maybe you reach over with the right, and you could find stillness here if this feels like, I just kind of want to sit in this. This feels good. Or you can find some movement with your top arm. Or option 3 is that you could always inhale, lift up. Exhale, reach. You choose. And we'll be here for 2 more breaths. And inhaling up when you're ready to leave this shape, because if you're not ready, you could stay longer. Having your block on your right side if you want it. Reaching the arms up, and exhale to find this on the opposite side. Same options here. Stillness or movement, you choose. And we'll take another 2 or 3 rounds of breath here. Can you bring your mind back into your body, into your breath, allowing this practice to be a focal point of attention and awareness for your mind? With your next breath, you might begin to lift on up, and exhale, hands could come down to the mat. All right, so low lunge here, if you want to take it. Left leg can begin to come forward, maybe heel toeing, and we'll end up with our left foot forward. Go ahead and take a second to adjust your props, adjust your shape, find the sweet spot for you. And then once you feel like, okay, I've reached where I want to be, this is a good place for my body today, I invite you to find some stillness. Feeling into your body. So searching with your mind's eye, where am I feeling the sensation of this stretch? What does it feel like? One more breath here. And then you might choose to stay right here. If this is a good practice in this moment of awareness for you, you could stay right here, or if you'd like, you could shift your hips back. Begin to press yourself up. I'll meet you in option number 2, which is low lunge with a lifted chest, lifted torso. You could pause right here and just continue to feel. Notice if you changed your body, if that changed the sensation in your body. Option number 3 is to have a block on your left side as we inhale the arms up and exhale. Find a side stretch on this opposite side. Movement or stillness, you choose. And we'll be here for 3 breaths. Starting to find completion. If you are in a side stretch, you might begin to come back to center and lower yourself down. Wherever you are, if you are done with this side, you could begin to plant your hands on the blocks or the floor and send your left leg back. And I'll meet you down on our stomachs. And again, you could just take a rest here if you want. That's one option. Or if you'd like to take the heart opening cobra with me, you could plant your hands on the floor and inhale. Press your hands into the mat. Lift your heart space. Lift your gaze as much or as little as you want. Exhale could roll you right back down. Taking a few more as you see fit. And then you could stay with this cobra if that's serving you, or option 2 is to return back to hovering your hands. So heart is lifted, hands are hovering. Option 3 is to reach your arms back behind you. 1 or 2 more breaths here. Can you bring your awareness into your breath? Exhale to let it all go. And you could stay right here, resting in this prone shape, which just means to lie on your stomach. Or if you prefer to press back into a child's pose, that is also an option. So 2 choices here. Let's take 5 breaths. Two more breaths. Notice where your mind is going. Starting to find completion here. If you are ready to, you could start to lift your head, walk your hands back, or press yourself away from the floor if you are in that prone shape. And we'll begin to set up for our time of meditation on our breath. So you could grab a bolster or some stacked blankets to sit on. And go ahead and set up your space as we went over in our session, our last session. So I like to have my bolster here and then a blanket for my hip flexors. I place my ankles down first and then the blanket in front so that it can catch my knees. So take a moment to set up and arrive. If you'd like to close your eyes, you can. If you'd like to stare down the bridge of your nose, that is also an option. And then you might decide to place your hands on your lap, or you might choose to place one hand over your heart, one over your abdomen. There's no right or wrong, and you can change your mind at any time. Bringing some awareness into your spine, from your tailbone all the way up into the base of your skull. I invite you to find a little bit of length, as if you could reach the back of your skull and your whole spine up towards the sky just a little bit. Just enough so that you feel a little bit taller, but it doesn't require a ton of effort. And then shifting your awareness into your breath. You don't have to do anything different. Just notice that you are breathing. And again, if it's helpful to place a hand over your stomach and over your heart, to really tune into the movement of your breath, you might do so. Notice your breathing, moving in and out of your body and how your body responds. How does your body move in tandem with your breath? If at any point you'd like to add a little bit of exhale to your next breath out, you might just release a little bit more breath. And then allowing your inhale to expand, breathe in. Maybe breathe just a little bit deeper. And then with your next exhale, you might breathe out a little bit slower. If you practice Ujjayi breathing that we've gone over in previous classes, this might be a place where you start to add your Ujjayi breathing in just to lengthen your exhale. And if that's not in your practice yet, that's okay. Just see if you can breathe a little bit slower with each exhale. And if that doesn't feel helpful to you today, you can completely release that option and continue doing what does feel helpful. We'll begin to count our breaths. We'll be here for 12 to 15 rounds. So 12 to 15 inhales and then 12 to 15 exhales. And anytime your mind wanders away from your breath, just gently bring it back. That is the practice. It's not if you can never lose your focus. I mean, that would be nice, but most of us, myself included, am not at that place yet. So the practice is, yes, awareness, and it's also becoming aware of when you become distracted and coming back to your breath. So there's not a failing here. That is the practice. So 12 to 15 rounds of breath, starting with your next inhale. Bringing your mind back to awareness with compassion whenever it wanders. Two more breaths. After your last exhale, you could release the awareness of your breath and counting and let all of that go and simply notice how you feel. Just sit in the effects of your practice. The mind is capable of having two states based on two distinct tendencies. These are distraction and attention. At any one moment, however, only one state prevails, and this state influences the individual's behavior, attitudes, and expressions. You have just spent about 45 minutes or so in a state of awareness and attention. Notice how your behavior, attitude, and expressions are presenting themselves right now. In other words, how do you feel? If you'd like to take a time of rest after your practice, I invite you to do so. And if not, I will leave you here. You might join me with your hands at heart center if you'd like, or you could leave them wherever they are. Perhaps taking an exhale out as we take a collective breath in. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. If you have any questions about this Yoga Sutra of Patanjali text 3.9 or anything that we've done in class today, please feel free to reach out. And I hope that you feel safe, connected, and at home in your body. Thank you.